YouTube! What's up, guys? Today we are doing the daily puzzle for Jan 24th. Let's do it. Alright, so it is white to move, and we can clearly see that this black knight on d4 is forking both our knight and our queen. So what can we do about that? Well, we can capture this knight, or we can go for a potential attack. So let's see our options. Our options are 1. Rook takes knight, pawn takes knight, pawn takes rook, and then knight takes pawn with the threat of knight to c6. That looks pretty interesting. We could also try something like well, what else? We can try let's think. Oh, we could try rook takes, king moves, and then knight takes knight with the threat of knight to c6. If the pawn takes, we just bring a queen inside, and it goes to h7. That would look pretty interesting. Notice we also have this attack, knight takes h6. That looks very nice. Opening up the queen to the square h7. That's what we want, I think. So let's say actually that knight takes h6 was played. That would result in king most likely moving to the square f8. F8 has more potential for that king to run out. So I mean, trapping the king in the corner is not the best option, especially with a knight. A knight can do a lot in the corner, especially. It can create a pretty decent attack, I'd say. So first of all, this knight check, right? The king only has 2 options. It can't go to h7 because that is covered by the queen. If we play knight takes check and the king moves to h8, first of all, we'll play knight takes f7, forking the king and the queen. So we know for a fact that king will move to f8. That is pretty much a forced move. And we love forced moves in tactics. That is what we want, because we want to control the board. We want to have complete, control over everything that is moving around. We don't want anything to be left variable. We want it to be in our control, in our hands. We want the position to be controlled by us. And how do we do that? We play the forced moves. We play something like knight takes h6. So knight takes h6 looks pretty good. I'm going to play that, I think. After king f8, it looks pretty decent. I mean, we can allow that queen to jump in, right? So let's go ahead and play that. And now we can allow that queen to jump in. It's very easy. If the queen comes in, right? The pawn, whoops. Oh, it works. Okay, the pawn, if the pawn takes, then we can simply play an attack like queen to g8. I just wanted to say for the well-being that if that pawn didn't take, then we would have a very nice attack on g8 still, because that knight was still controlling g8. So let's look at our options here. Do we want to play rook g8, queen g8, queen h8, queen takes h6, maybe something else? Let's look at our options. We could try even playing the weirdest moves like e6, rook f4, simple attacking moves. It might not be the most forced, but, it is subtle and it is forced. So, yes, it is forced. Whoops. Okay. So what do we do? Let's go ahead and play. If we play queen takes h6, I like this because the king comes to e7 and we have queen to f6, so I like that. How about queen h8, king to e7, queen f6, and yeah. The king managed to escape, though. I don't want the king to escape. That's the only concern here. All the checks look good, except that the king can move to the square to e7. So how do we manipulate that square? This is quite tricky. I think the best we should go for is maybe queen takes h6, because we're winning these 2 pawns. Those look pretty valuable, and once we win these 2 pawns, we can seep in with our rook. So let's go ahead and play that. Oof, that is wrong. Alright, next we can try the moves queen g8, rook g8, queen h8. Okay, all of them are wrong. So, that only means that we have to play something non-checkish. In other words, we have to play something that's subtle, that's hiding, but that's planning for the future. That's, monstrous move right away. Definitely gonna win. How about rook f5? Rook g7. G7. Interesting. Okay, so similar intentions of a rook f5. However, different plan of escaping. While queen takes h6 looks, I think it's pretty much winning. It says it's a draw. Yeah, I think actually for the most part, yeah, you're right, it's a draw. King c8, and then finally we just play. Okay, no, that wasn't it. After king f8, we play the move queen takes f7. That's right. We wanted to grab that pawn first. And then we could play, rook e7. Then we could play queen takes d5. We're just winning all these pawns in compensation of losing our knight. But, after that, we can attack with our rook maybe, right? Rook g8. Rook, I bet, defends. Rook takes e8. Queen takes. And then eventually we have h6. So, bit of compensation. I'd say this is actually winning for white. For the most part, I think that, we have these two monstrous pawns. Eventually, we'll be pushing, these two pawns, F and G. Eventually, all four pawns will be monstrous. This knight really doesn't have that much potential. This rook is on the side of the board. We can very easily activate our rook. However, the rook can slide over simply to the square H1, and it would be a done deal for that promotion. However, let's not go into that yet. Let's see where we went wrong, or where we could have done better, in fact. And that is with the move rook to g7. Interesting. With the computer analysis says mate in 3. So king e7 definitely. The only threat here is rook takes, right? So the king has to escape. With the move king e7, that does the job. After rook takes f7, notice. Oops. Let's maybe go back. Let's try this again. Yeah, because that gets a little buggy. Okay, so after the king escapes, we play rook takes. And now the king, I realize now that the king only has forced move, one move. Here it can only move to e6. This is the only square it can go to in which we'll play the move, queen to g6. You could even try, you can't do queen f5. I was thinking queen f5, but that knight is there. Silly. Alright, so queen g6 check, it looks like, we have to wait one more move, and the final one is that beautiful pawn checkmate. And there you have it, folks. Alright, so interesting. We don't go for the attack immediately. We don't hop onto that bandwagon just yet. We find a move that is more subtle, but more destructive. We find a move that creates a plan for the future, a mate in 4, mate in 3, whatever you want to call it, plan that, crumbles the position of your opponent, restricts it always to one move. Rook to g7, that looks like it only has, black has various options, right? It's such an open position. Anything can happen, but it's a mate in 1. Rook takes f7 is, a mate in 1. Black has to defend that, and it cannot do that through simple moves like, queen to d7 or queen e7. If queen to d7, queen g8. This is completely demolishing, right? This is, you're going to win that queen. So simple moves like that. It's very forced in this position. You're like a boa constrictor, tightening your opponent. Forcing him or her to play a forced move, one move that is definite, and that will lead to your end result of your goal and plan. So there you have it. All right. I hope you guys enjoyed that daily puzzle for today. Please be sure to like and subscribe, and I hope to see you guys in the next one. I'd love to see you. Subscribe, please, and like these videos. Thank you so much for your time, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care. Bye.